Hey, what is going on? Spellforce 3 community, good to have you here. Thanks for checking out this video. Now, I have a theory. I have a theory that says this game is slightly bugged. Of course, we know that already. No, but I have a theory that says this game is slightly bugged with specifically how the game's buildings are working here. Now, in my logic, if I were to have, let's say, 18 resources to build a structure that costs 18 wood, right? If I have 18 wood, I can build a structure that costs 18 wood, and then it'll be building. In my mind, that makes sense. That hopefully makes sense to everybody. And I'll place the structure down, and it'll go down to 0 wood. From 18, if I have it, it'll go down to 0. And then once I'm at 0, I can say to myself, okay, if I build another structure, maybe something that costs another 18 wood, that'll go to minus 18. And then that second structure will be on hold. However, this sometimes is not the case. Sometimes the first structure, even though you had the wood to build it, it stalls out for another structure that is placed thereafter. Now, this is a bit weird. This is a bit weird for you few reasons here. One of the reasons is weird is because in my mind, and hopefully in anyone's mind, you have accumulated the correct amount of resources for the first structure, and even though you're taking the deficit for the second structure, you were under the impression that as you grow your resources as the game progresses, those resources will be stockpiled into the second building structure. Now, there's a variety of reasons why you would want to take a deficit and build the second structure, even though you don't yet have the resources for it. I'll name a few reasons right now. One of the reasons why is so that it should theoretically be more efficient. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, you have 17 wood and a structure costs 18 resources. You should put a structure down and go to -1 in this case. However, since you have 99% of the resources, it will start building up 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, up to the 30 whatever seconds it takes to build that structure. By the time you hit 99% of the build time, theoretically, you should have had that 30 plus seconds. It'll be enough to get that +1 wood deficit to cover the entirety of the cost of the structure. Where am I going with this? What I'm saying is, if you wait until you have 18 wood to build an 18 cost structure, you're being inefficient, because by the time you complete that structure, you won't have 18 wood anymore or 0 wood. You're going to have 26 wood or 27 wood. You're going to have +8 wood thereafter, which means you're completing the structure seconds later, maybe 15 seconds later, 20 seconds later. Your build order is going to be wrong. It's going to be slow. However, if you're building the structure in the debt, essentially 0 or negative, which theoretically should be correct and should be the most efficient build order, sometimes the game is bugging out and subtracting resources that should have already gone to the right building, and is therefore slightly buggy. This causes problems such as simultaneous buildings and other things like that. So we're going to take a look into this game and test out these theories, figure out, okay, which one is the most efficient based on the bugs and stuff in the game, and hopefully that gets patched out in the future. I expect if I put a structure down at 18 wood and I have that 18 wood, I expect every decision thereafter in terms of my construction to not interfere or interact with that first structure I placed down. Currently, that's not the case. But we're going to go take a look at timings in this game. We're going to take a look at, okay, my first banner, my first outpost, how long did that take to build? My first structure, how long did that take to build? And we're going to be playing around with the timings and costs and resources in the game. We're going to do this a couple times and do some trials here and see what numbers we can come up with. Okay, building 1 is done at XYZ time. Building 2 is done at XYZ time. So let's just jump right in and test out some of these theories, find out what is the most efficient, why it is, and see if some of these numbers are kind of skewed based on either human error or they're deviated based on some weird game bug mechanics. Human error, you're going to be seeing what, plus or minus 2 seconds. That's fine. game errors plus or minus 20 seconds. That's not human error. That's going to be a game bug. So let's go take a look. Let's just jump right in and take a look at these times. Bit of a min-max here for build orders, but of course, anyone that's trying to play competitively or wants to understand what the mechanics are, or try to understand where this game is taking away resources and delaying timings, it's a bit annoying if you're trying to be competitive. So let's just jump right into it. Here we are. We're going to build these first buildings. Since we have the resources for these first few buildings, as you can see, we are not in the negative or zero. These should build without a problem. We're not too worried about this at all. These are all okay. Huh? It's the problems after, as the game progresses, as the game ensues, that are going to cause the issues. Basically, the first outpost, the first building we make in that new sector, etc., etc. So these are all building out, no problem. You can see there's a check mark here denoted in this lower area. It's building without a problem, building without a problem. Now this is an issue altogether.
Building completed.
I'll tell you why that's an issue. The issue is when I have the resources, I won't have the check mark.
Yes.
And the reason why I don't have the check
Building
mark
completed.
is because you need to rely on carriers. These guys. You can see these guys running back here. They're gonna take the resources from the center and go to the new structure, which means two things.
The outpost has been built. We've expanded our borders.
The first thing it means is you might have the resources, but it doesn't show you correctly that you have the resources because it's pending the time it takes for the AI to carry that resources over. Which means if you're relying on the check mark, you're not being efficient, and you could be wrong because maybe you do have the resources, but the carrier hasn't brought it over yet. The second problem with that is something weird with the AI and how that may be processed.
The outpost has been built. We've expanded our borders.
And you don't get that check mark. It's something weird's going on with that. So again, here it'll say, okay, it's missing wood, whatever it's going on, wood is missing, we don't have it. And that makes sense because we upgraded too soon. We had a deficit, and we were expecting that to hold and say, hold on, you don't have enough. That's normal, because this is working correctly. However, when I do have the resources and I put up the structure, that's when it's not working correctly. Like right now, I have a surplus of 2 wood.
Building
which means
completed.
I should be able to put down a structure, and it should be able to build no problem. Now you'll see that this wood cabin is 18 wood. I don't have 18 wood. I have 10.
We need to gather more wood, Scryer.
Up to at least 50%, and then say, hold on, I don't have enough wood. However, you'll see I've hit 0 and even a surplus of 2. What does this mean? It means that I should theoretically have all the resources necessary now to build the hunting cabin, because I have a plus. I have a net positive here. That means this minus 16, as the carriers go in and deliver these resources, they should bring this negative 10 to 0 to a check mark over time.
Yes.
Now, there's some issues with this. Like I said, first let's see the timings. We'll compare and contrast. Let's take a look at when this cabin is finished.
The battle goes on.
And we're getting a huge net positive here. Now we have that check mark. Things are looking great. Wonderful. Let's take a look at this timing. 2:55. That's the timing of that.
Don't we have workers for this?
2:55.
Don't
now
we
let's go
have
through
workers
this
for this?
We're being attacked.
here. We're going to write some of these timings down in a little bit of a notepad here. We have got 2:55 hunting cabin. Our first cabin. We're upgrading this sector, this elven banner. Now that we have some additional resources, let's drop down another thing here. Let's drop down a grove. Because now that brings our wood to 0 as well. And we have additional wood here too, right? We have some additional wood. Let's just drop down another structure. Because we have some additional wood. Let's just drop down, I don't know. Let's drop whatever we want. We have some additional resources. Let's drop down a hunting cabin.
Building
So
completed.
that goes into the negative here. But we're expecting that here to go partial completion and then build thereafter. So let's take a look. The grove is now denoted by the check mark. So now the grove is okay. It said I had enough for the grove, but the hunting cabin, I don't have enough. I have minus, including the carrier time to transport over plus and some. Now, as you can see from this, it seems to be working pretty intelligent. Okay, I have a certain amount of wood. I build something, as denoted by the net positive or 0. But if I build something that goes into the negative, I'm going to stall out and not be working correctly. But let's take a look at a game where that seems to not be the case. Like we said before, we had this hunting cabin build at 2:55. Let's go and take a look at another replay. If I could play the correct one. Where this does not seem to be the case. If we can find it. Maybe it's this one. I played a lot of games. I've been doing a lot of testing. We'll see if this is the correct one. So again, keep that number 255 in your brain. That's the time of that first structure being built in our second outpost. We have that time 255 in our head. So let's take a look at this replay here. We're doing the same thing. You can see that our resources here. We're going to speed this up a little bit here, just to get the idea. Not keep you guys here too long. Get to the point, of course. Let's see what we did differently in this game.
Building completed.
Let's see what happened in this game. In this game, I take the banner.
Building completed.
You'll see me upgrade to the Shrine of Growth, which is going to put me in a net negative. As you would expect. It's working appropriately here. And we're upgrading that. It's going to stall out. It's going to build a little bit. 30% or whatnot. It's going to stall out at 33.
We'll find them.
Say not enough wood, as we expect. We're going to have to wait to gather some more. No problem there. That's working as intended, as we would expect it to work. Let's see where the problem
outpost has been built. We've expanded our borders.
Let's see where the issues actually are here in this build here. So we're waiting. We're still waiting for some resources to come in. No problems yet.
They won't hear us coming.
We're going to pause at a key moment, a key interval here as well. So what is missing, denoted by this -6.
It will be done.
And
our heroes grew stronger.
I'm going to pause here. What is going on now? So we have not a net negative anymore. We have a 0. We have a 0 on the wood column, and we have a -4 on the food column. What does this mean? This means that this banner should have sufficient wood to upgrade to a new sector. However, it does not have sufficient food to upgrade to a new sector. What does this mean? It means that I should now, theoretically, be able to put down another structure that maybe only require its wood from this 0 to build, right? I could maybe put down another building or so to build. That's how it should work in my mind anyways, maybe in your minds. So let's continue.
The outpost has been built.
So
we've expanded our borders.
We've added the hunting cabin now. We've added the hunting cabin here because we saw a 0 and we said, okay, now I could probably put up a new structure. I go into the net negative because I had 0 wood, and this doesn't cost any food, so it has no bearing on this stall here. So in my mind, the Elven Banner has all the sufficient wood it needs to build, and I can put down a wood-only structure. Let's take a look at what's going on
You know
here.
the way, right? Your time
So now we
come.
see 0 food, which means this banner should have the sufficient food and wood now, as explained before, to just now go without stalling a full completion of our structure time. It looks like it's doing just that.
You're breathing.
Building completed.
The problem seems to be working as intended. Everything seems to be working according to our theory about how this should be playing out. Now let's take a look at this hunting cabin. What is it waiting on? It's obviously waiting on this wood where we had this net negative here. It's waiting on wood. We've done no more construction so far. We see a -18 here. -18 wood required to complete assignments. We have a -12 here. Which means that what is going on is this. Even though these numbers don't match, here's what's going on. What's going on is that this building was placed slightly before this building was completed, the Shrine of Growth. We're waiting for the carriers to come over here and update this number efficiently to show, okay, we do have 6 wood. This should be at -12, not a -18. That's why these numbers aren't reflected appropriately. But the carriers are going to be coming out here pretty soon whenever they pop out and whatnot, whenever the workers come into play and all this jazz. So long story short, we have a net negative of only 12 wood. That's our real deficit. When the carriers come out and supply the wood, this -18 is going to be adjusted to -12. Anyways, let's continue.
They won't
Here
hear
they
us
come.
coming.
Here is the carrier, dropping that down. -16 now. Starts constructing. So here's the important thing, and why This is one, according to my theory, the golden rule. Why would you put down a structure when you have 0 wood, or 1 wood, or 2 wood, when the structure costs 18 wood? And the answer is this. You're going to start partial construction. You're going to start building it as the supplies kick in, which means you're going to have that building constructed, theoretically, as efficient as possible, as soon as possible. As the resources come in and kick in, they're going to be built simultaneously. You're not going to be waiting until I have 18, drop it down, and start from 0 to 100. I'm just going to build up to, I don't know, 30, 50, 70, whatever I can get, stall out, get the resources kicked in, and as soon as possible, and then finish the construction in a shorter amount of time. This should theoretically be efficient. This is how the build order should work according to most RTS games. Anyways, let's continue.
If we must.
We're working through our wood deficit, and then I want to pause here. Let's take a look at what happened here. Our wood is now at 0, which means we have completed our wood deficit for the hunting cabin. Even though this number hasn't been updated yet, the carriers are still going to come over here and give the wood here. This is what I'm being told. I'm saying, okay, my wood deficit has been paid off. My hunting cabin is ready to go. I have partial construction time here, which means I'm efficient, even though instead of hitting that button to build the hunting cabin now at 210, the second put it down, I have partial construction of 276 health. I have some carriers already moving to put this wood in here, and I've already had some structure completion timer. That should make sense. Hopefully I'm not over explaining anything. But let's continue. You see I have a -2 food deficit. I was creating a guardian that has no bearing on the hunting cabin, because the hunting cabin does not cost any food. It costs 18 wood. So this -2 food is just related to the guardian. That's not important at all. So let's continue. What happens?
A sound strategy.
Let's take a look. We have now a net positive. Let's take a look. One more time. We're gonna pause
The
just
outpost has
for
been built. We've expanded our
measure.
borders.
Now we're all in the positive. Everything is green. We're all in the positive here. Which means I should be able to theoretically drop down another structure and accrue a debt for that structure. Right? That should make sense. Everything should be paid off. All my debts are paid off now. Denoted by there's no negative sign here. Let's take a look at what happens. Here we go. I upgrade my Shrine of Growth here at the Elven Banner. I said, okay, I have net positive, nothing in negative. I'm going to accrue a debt, start building up this structure here, the Shrine of Growth, and go into the net negative. So I'm going to get partial timer construction, and as the resources kick in, they're going to be attributed, or distributed rather, to this Elven Banner, and it's going to, like I said, build up as much as possible, and get myself the most efficient, the fastest build order time possible. Let's take a look at what happens here. So now, as this continues,
Let us proceed.
let's go back to the hunting cabin. Wait, hold on, let's pause here. We see -2 resources. Hey, that might not be a big deal, right? Maybe the carriers haven't distributed the wood over. Maybe that's not true, right? Maybe this net negative here, we do have missing wood for the Elven Banner. That makes sense. We had a debt for the Elven Banner. And we had a positive number prior to starting the Elven Banner. Let's see what happens. Waiting for that carrier to distribute that last 2 wood, as denoted by that 0 positive in the wood sector prior to starting that Elven Banner upgrade. Hold on a second, we're stalling out. 238, we're stalling out here at the hunting cabin. It's still saying that we're missing 2 wood. How's that possible? How are you missing 2 wood if we were at a positive or a debt paid off as 0 on the wood prior to starting a new construction here at the Elven Banner? Unless they took away resources and the carrier hasn't moved over yet to distribute these resources. You see, what happened here was that either the carrier bugged out and they didn't distribute the resources to fully complete, even though that cost was paid in full, as denoted by my resource value. But since the Elven Banner doesn't need a carrier to start construction, maybe this somehow took away resources from that 0 and took away from the hunting cabin, and there's some kind of weird interplay going on between a carrier for a structure and no carrier for a banner. Because all of a sudden, those resources that were supposed to be distributed to the hunting cabin and were paid in full prior to starting the Elven Banner seems to have been hijacked or stolen by this Elven Banner construction as I accrued that negative debt to have myself the most efficient build possible. Let's take a look at what happens now. Since this is the case,
Yes?
this stalls out. And this
We should pick up the pace.
is going through. Now my resources are starting to stabilize once more. Now what's weird here as well is I have 1 wood. If I have 1 wood, why is the hunting cabin at -2 wood? What's going on here? And this is just going through no problem.
The outpost has been built. We've expanded our borders.
I have 8 wood now. We're waiting for that carrier to finally distribute. And it looks like that 1 wood is being carried over by this carrier now. Even though we have 8 wood. Now we have -1. Man, that feels bad. Now we have 12 wood. Do I build another structure? Or if I put another structure down, and that gets me
We need to gather more wood,
that gets me
Squire.
to -6. Will this thing just show me -6 as well? That's weird. Look at that. The Elven Banner actually... Look at this. It finishes.
Building
The
completed.
building is complete. And the hunting cabin is still not finished yet. That's weird. And if I didn't look at this, I just look at my resources. Wow, 12 wood, 10 stone. I could probably build another building. Accrue myself the most efficient half production as possible. Woodcutter for 18. And then get at least 50% of it built. And while that 50% is building, I will accrue more wood so that that deficit is not really a deficit. It's only a temporary deficit from the looks of it. It's like a fake deficit because as I'm building up that 12 wood income, the remaining 6 wood will be paid off in the time it takes me to build that partial construction woodcutter. Which means that I really have enough to build the woodcutter from 0 to 100 because these guys are going to deliver their remaining 6 wood in the time it takes to construct this building. This leaves me with a problem because this is not really what's happening in the game. What's happening in the game is something weird interplay between stealing each other's resources, even though it looks like you have the right amount of resources in play. Something weird with the carrier of the wood and no carriers of upgrading sectors. I don't exactly know what's going on here. Personally, I've seen this bug, if you want to call it that, or priority stolen from other places, depending on how much resources you have, which gives you a false sense of understanding when to build things and understanding how to get the most efficient build order as fast as possible. Because all of a sudden, that 2 minute and 55 second it took to build that hunting cabin is now, let's take a look at the timer now. Now we get that check mark.
Building completed.
Now we have 309. So I've lost 14 seconds by trying to be efficient and building things according to paying off my debt. Again, I won't go back to it, but feel free to take a look back at the video and see what happened here. I had paid off my debt, gotten to 0, eliminated my net negative, gotten to 0 or higher in these categories, and then decided to put down the structure for partial construction or partial expansion, if you will, whatever you want to call it, and then paying off that debt as the resources kick in here. Because let's say for example, I have 18 wood and I build something that costs 18 wood, you're going to see this number go higher than 18 or higher than 0 when I put the structure down before this structure is finished. Let's take a look at another example of what I'm talking about. So we have 3 times here. We have 255 hunting cabin, that's accruing debt. We have a 309 hunting cabin because we've lost priority from building another structure when this debt was paid off. Let's take a look at a final game, and then we're going to do another one live on stream, or on video, rather. And let's take a look at what I'm talking about, to wrap it all, the final thing here, to wrap it all together, and when we'll summarize. Needless to say, that 14-second deficit is clearly not human error of clicking these buttons or whatnot. That's clearly an interplay between stealing the resources that were supposed to be distributed and was shown to already have been distributed by the net positives.
Huh?
So for this one, what we're going to be doing here is waiting until we have the appropriate resources before we go putting down the structure. In other words, we're going to be avoiding any net negative.
What do you require?
Say the word.
Except for the banner. The first banner, we're going to go net negative. Just
Ellen guides my steps.
right here to eliminate any
Don't we have
source
workers
of,
for this?
Building completed.
We're going to basically have one variable, is what I'm trying to say.
Don't we have workers
So we're
for
going to get
this?
net negative on the oven banner just to eliminate the
Building completed.
variable, just because this was the same in every game.
The outpost has
And
been
what
built.
we're going to be doing this
We've
game
expanded our borders.
is we're going to be waiting. We're going to be waiting until we have 18 wood to put down our hunting cabin. What does that mean? It means that we're going to ensure we have enough wood for the hunting cabin to complete. Unlike I did before, which was wait until I had 0 after the oven banner was completed,
The
took
battle
on a
goes
debt
on.
to see if that debt was paid off so that I can work on the next building. We're going to be waiting until the hunting cabin actually has 18 wood, denoted by the wood having 18 in this sector here, in this column rather. So here we go. We're going to just go over here, grab this banner.
Don't we have workers for this?
We're at 0, so theoretically, as according to my normal play, I can put down the structure and then take on the debt and pay it off, get partial construction. But we're going to wait until we have 18 to actually build this structure. We want to figure out what's the most efficient way to do this. Because we want to have the fastest build
The
times,
outpost has been built.
because we're playing
We've
competitive
expanded
artistic.
our borders.
Okay, there we are. We're waiting around. Come on, let's go, go, go. Let's get to 18 wood. We're gonna, as soon as we have 18 wood, we're going to put that down. There it is, 18 wood, goes to 0. Now we're up to 2. Now that we're up to 2,
Yes?
let's go ahead and we can build ourselves a shrine of growth now. Theoretically, we have the food. We almost have the wood. We can do partial construction of the shrine of growth, right? This was paid for. Let's go ahead
We need to gather
and
more
upgrade the
wood,
shrine of
Scryer.
growth. Now we're seeing a check mark here because we waited a very long time to build this. Let's take a look at the time it takes to build this as well.
Building completed.
253, 254. That sounds like the time we had in the beginning of the game, right?
The battle goes on.
Now we are floating resources here.
Building completed.
Now we are ready to go again. So whatever we want to build here.
Ellen guides my steps.
So
What do you
interesting.
require?
We waited until after the fact of having the wood. Now we have the resources. Yeah, that seems to be a little bit interesting because you would think that having the partial construction build time and then having your workers distribute and get the resources over would theoretically be faster, be more efficient. But this doesn't seem to be the case, with us allowing you to float resources and somehow be more efficient than taking on the slight debt when the building is paid off. And the reason for this is because some of this debt isn't done in a smart way. This debt that's accrued is distributed, even though it looks like it's paid off, as you go down to 0 and net positive. It does share
than I thought.
that debt as you're building other things, such as the banner in this sector and the hunting cabin in this sector, for whatever reason. Things to think about. And then do you go net negative on the shrine of growth? Do you stay net positive for whatever reason? It kind of gives you an idea
only
about
take a
how do
second.
you do this. Do you spend your resources and never go 0, never go below 0? And how efficient can you do that? So from what I was able to gather,
It's more complicated than I thought.
my original playstyle was to go 0, make sure I have the correct resources allocated, and once I get myself to 0 or net positive, I can put down another structure, inherit a debt for that structure, and etc. etc. That's not how the game works for whatever reason. It doesn't work like that. It's not as efficient as you can see by these timers or these numbers out here between the 255, 254, and the 309 happening at the same time. I've been playing the game and getting 309, 14 seconds off. All of a sudden, that's actually hurting me big time, especially as you can see from the opener here. for no apparent reason, of just playing the numbers as if they were the right numbers. Long story short, the debt is shared between all the things that you have going on, and you need to be very careful, it seems, to not go net negative, it seems. It feels like. However, I was still under the impression that partial construction and delivering the resources when you had 99% of it done or whatnot was going to be faster, would be a faster tactic than not doing that. It seems interesting. But maybe that's not the case after all. Maybe it's faster to just wait, go from 0 to 100, than going from 70% stalling to 100. So that's what I wanted to showcase. Let me know down below if you have had similar build order interruptions, or if you have, or what your system of placing down structures are. Do you wait until you have 18 to put down the structure and then place it, gather higher than 18 as that building constructs and gather more resources, which feels a little bit weird? Do you wait until you have 15 out of 18, maybe 70% of the resources, maybe take on a very slight debt, -3 debt instead of a -15 debt? How do you do it? What is your way of building that you have noticed a high efficiency without being affected by shared costs while building more than one structure simultaneously? Or do you just build one building at a time, of course? And then you're very sure that you're not going to have any build interruptions. Let me know down in the chat below. Thanks for hanging out and watching this video. I do appreciate it. See you guys later.